Well, good morning, everybody. I'm John Buckley, CEO and founder of Blue River Analytics. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning. We greatly appreciate it. With me today is Steve Piper, one of Blue River's senior Spotfire advisors, Kaylee Rickett, engineering tech from Fairway Resources, and Mark Cooper, engineering manager from Fairway Resources. Today, Steve's going to be your tour guide for today's demo with some color and comments from Kaylee and Mark, a real live Blue River customer. Before we begin, legal requires us to display our forward-looking statement or our safe harbor statement. A safe harbor statement is very standard for software companies. This forward-looking statement predicts, projects, or uses future events as expectations or possibilities. These statements can sometimes be mistaken for factual statements while they are actually speculation. A forward-looking statement may include future economic performance, such as revenues or income plans for the future operations or software releases. As I've already introduced the presenters, a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas on how we can improve, please get a hold of us after the call. We want to use this time to highlight the features of the tool. Our hope is after today, you will get to know Blue River and our remarkable team of Spotfire oil and gas experts a little better. We hope you share in our excitement in what we are working on for you. As always, thank you to our development and subject matter experts teams. None of this is possible without you. In just a few moments, you'll see our amazing work. Blue River is celebrating its 5th year of servicing the oil and gas analytics community. For roughly 4 out of those 5 years, we have been working side by side with our nearly 150 clients to collect the insights needed to build this tool. I've mentioned this before, so it's worth noting again. We do not develop in a vacuum. The LOS tool is largely designed by your ideas. It is by far the best LOS Spotfire template on the market today. We realize no client is the same. Each client has unique requirements and data sources. Blue River will provide the Spotfire template, which allows us to deliver a rapid solution versus starting from scratch. And away we go. The LOE LOS template is live and ready for production right now. We are also open for one-on-one personal demos. Many of you on the call today have already scheduled time with us, and for that, thank you. So enjoy a demo of the LOE LOS analysis template. We are excited to see what it can do for your business. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our senior Spotfire analyst, Steve Piper, to kick off the demo.
Okay, thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. Before I actually get into showing you the template, I wanted to just sort of try and give you some background as to what the objectives were when we started developing this template. As John has already said, we work with a number of clients, and we've already produced LOE, LOS, and analytics tools for individual clients. And what we were trying to do was distill our learnings from those into a sort of standard template that we can use as John said, as the starting point to providing a very rapid solution for each individual client. So the objectives of the template, if you like, is to provide a tool that gives you quick and easy access to be able to view your LOE expense details and to be able to gain business insights out of that. So it's about being able to look at your LOE data at any level and be able to slice and dice it by time and by wells or sets of wells and things like that, so that you can assess your financial performance. But not only are we looking at the raw numbers, but we also start looking at sort of key performance indicators off of those numbers. The idea of the tool is to allow you to be able to rapidly compare actuals and budget spends, and where appropriate, drill into high cost variance issues and identify what those issues might be. also to be able to identify trends in your overall financial performance, or individual cost lines. Where are your expenses going up? Where are you getting better at reducing your costs, that sort of thing, and be able to compare the performance of wells, again, either at an overall level or at an individual cost or revenue line item level, to identify best and worst performance and help you make the decisions about where to invest more time and effort, or which wells are no longer actually really proving viable. Next slide, John. So what the template does is provides this interactive analysis capability of your LOE data, and from that to be able to gain these sort of rapid insights into costs and variances that enables you to make better decisions on your business. What it does is it takes data from a variety of sources. Typically, that's going to be your actual accounting system for the actual transactional data, budget data, again, possibly from your accounting system, or that may come from another source. Combine that with well configuration information that allows you to group sets of wells together in any way that you want, to be able to select which wells you want to consider and compare. And the idea is it allows engineers and managers to do high value analysis rather than spending masses of time assembling the data and matching it between the multiple data sources and all these things. All the cross-referencing of data and integration of the data is done automatically in the background. So then you can look to make better decisions and rapidly drill down into individual transactions if you need to understand what's going on with anomalies or outliers and so forth. So with having said that, I'm now going to switch to showing you the actual demonstration. So just give me a moment. Okay, so as I said to start with, what we have here is a template, and the way this has been built enables us to connect it to your data sources and adapt it to your particular needs very, very rapidly. So if we start to look at what we've got here, first of all organizations, you all have your own set. Steve,
I think you want to share your. I think you want to share your screen.
It says I'm sharing it here. Can you not see it? Hang on.
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
There we are. Yep, no problem.
Okay. So yes, so we have, first of all, we pull in data that tells us what all your sort of line codes are that make up your expenses, and we can start with this sort of summary view of that information, so you can just see at a glance what the numbers look like. And from this, we can also go and print this data out at various levels. We then have here a sort of control panel that really allows you to control and adapt what you actually see. I'm going to talk through this in a little bit of detail now, because this applies through all pages of this analysis. So understanding what the options are right now makes life simpler. Okay, so as you can see, we've got some basic revenue details here about barrels of production and gas production and so forth. We've pulled in data about what our prices are that we've been achieving and what our revenues are from that. And then as we go down here, we've got various breakdown of operating costs into different categories, perhaps maintenance costs, both surface and subsurface costs, and then workover costs. It's all broken down here with sort of subtotals at whatever level is appropriate for your needs. Right through, as you can see, we can go right down here until we get down to some lines that are talking about what our overall operating expenses and the incomes. Then we can have capital expenditure items and calculate net cash flows. And then down the bottom here, we've got a series, if you like, of financial indicators where what we're really looking at is what the performance is in terms of costs or revenues per per barrel of oil equivalent. So whether that be total lease expenses, whether it be cash flow, etc. Okay. Now over here, we can now slice and dice this data really in any way that we might wish to. So we can switch, for example, between net and gross. What is that? Net and gross values, and some organizations have both activity-based accounts and financial accounting-based accounts, and this will handle both of those as well. And as we change these, you'll see pretty quickly that the numbers do just give it a moment, and all the numbers will change across. We can also here start to look at this in different formats. So the idea here is this is the most detailed breakdown, if you will, but we can configure multiple different formats. So we can have, if you want a version that you can export to other systems without the fancy headers, we can do that. We can do things like looking at just some key total summaries of this data, just the key lines. We might have a version that looks at key financials only. So we'll just whiz these out to make the numbers fit a bit better. So you've got a variety of formats here. We have options as to whether or not you include accruals. We also have options as to whether or not you want to show budget data alongside this. So if we flick that through, you'll now see that over here, in my demonstration data, we've only got budget data starting in March, but here we're able now to see side by side the actuals and budget data. I can also just change the view of the data to look at whatever time range I'm interested in. So I can reduce that. Typically, we might have 2 or 3 years worth of historic data live in a system like this, with the ability to go back and look at older data if we need to. We can also look at it at different levels. So we might look at it here at the moment at a monthly level. But you can also look at it at quarterly or yearly total values as well. Okay. Now those themes will carry on, and you'll see those reproduced in the other pages of this as we go through. Then down here, what we have is the ability to select subsets of your wells, if you like, that you might be interested in looking at. So in this example data, I have about 800 wells. I have all the data associated with those, but I could look at just how the performance perhaps of one region is doing, or one field or area that I might want to look at. So I can sort of pick and work here at whatever level and see the same sort of summary data with all the details included in it. And I can also start to drill down if I want to and look at the individual wells within this. Let's reset all those a moment. So I can pick individual wells or compare a couple of wells potentially on some of the other tabs, as you'll see in a moment. So from this page also, what's included in this set of filters is really driven by what data you have available as part of your sort of, if you like, your well header data, how you want to group your wells. Here we've got examples where we can look at performance based on a particular foreman or engineer, or by a particular lease, or whatever categories you want to use, particular operators, or even compare operated and non-operated if you so wish. Okay. And from here, if you need to print a version of this print report button here will actually generate PDFs for this. So for example, if we wanted to just look at maybe some of these total rows only, we can make this a bit wider, and we can say, okay, I want to produce that at a regional level. And what we'll see happens now is for each of the regions I've got. So here's the Rockies as a region, and let's reset these other filters a moment. And now I've got my Eastern region, my Permian region, and my Rockies. And if I were to go and print that, that would actually generate that as a PDF report, or we could export that data just as it stands into Excel or something like that if required. So that's the ability really to get the financial summary data in a tabular form. But where the value really starts to come into this is as we now start to be able to work more with this data. So the first ability we've got here is to start drilling into some of this data. So depends on the level of aggregation of your data and the volumes of data, but essentially we can click through from any particular record here and go down to see all the individual transactions that might make up a particular value. So if we go to one particular month and yeah, let's just pick one particular well if I'm interested in just one well. So I can go down and look through any of these and see what my expenses were, and then the breakdown of those transactions would be down in here as well. Okay. And this same set of filters apply, so I can do exactly the same here. I can look at quarterly levels, yearly levels, or whatever. We can then move through and start really visualizing this data. So let me just put my filters back. So what we're doing here is starting to look, in this case, this is a sort of predefined report that is focusing on what operating cash flow and LOE per barrel look like, and what the trends are over time. Again, at the moment, it's being shown at the regional level because that's what I've set up here. But we could look at this by an area level if we wanted to, whatever format we wish to look at. And there we go. So now we've got it at an area level, and I can sort of work my way through all the areas if I wanted to, or we can compare just say a couple of areas in here. Let's just compare a couple of areas just to see how they're comparing and what the trends are looking like, both at a cash flow level and at an LOE per barrel level. And again, all the filtering works in exactly the same way, so we can drill down and compare any set of wells that we wish, or go down to comparing individual wells. And all the other things still apply, so whether we include accruals and whether or not we work at monthly, quarterly or yearly levels in terms of looking at the trends. Sometimes monthly is a bit too granular, so it's better to look at things on a quarterly basis. As we then move through, if we want to start looking at individual line items in this, same basic capability, we can pick any particular line through our LOS to look at and compare. So net revenues, and we're now comparing actuals and budgets in two different areas at the moment and how they're comparing. And within those, we're then looking at the individual wells. So as I drill down from the top chart, I can look at the individual wells perhaps that make up my selection. So if we go back perhaps to a wider set of data, I can start to compare any particular wells or sets of wells that exist within a particular area, see which ones are doing best against budget and so forth. And I identify fairly quickly any outliers that exist. As we move through, we can also start just looking at variances. So again, we're looking at the moment at a particular line item of our LOS, in this case, the total revenue, and we're comparing, you know, are we under or over budget? What's our variance? So we've got a couple here that are over and some that are under. If we were to do exactly the same with one of our cost lines, so our total operating expenses, again, we can see some are over budget and some are under budget, how they're comparing. And this is dependent on the time frame as well. So we can say, well, at the moment, instead of looking at 12 months, let's pull that in and look at the last 6 months or something like that. See how they're doing and where the outliers are. And we could start to drill in exactly the same way into this data if we wanted to. I I turn on the details. So down here, again, I can start seeing all the breakdown of that data, and we could drill down and see individual transactions in there as well if we wanted to. So these two charts really allow us to look at any level of our LOE summaries through cash flows, etc., and to look at not only trends at any level, any group of wells, or what the overall company performance looks like. So if we just go back and reset everything, we're now looking at everything that all in one go, and we can see again all the individual wells down here, and then we're ranking them. We can then do exactly the same really with financial indicators. So here we're able to pick a particular KPI that we have, so total operating expense per barrel of oil perhaps, and look at it over any given time period, see what the trends and averages look like, and again perhaps compare regions to see how the different regions compare in terms of what their expenses per barrel look like, which ones are improving and which ones are perhaps getting worse. Or again, we could do this down at a particular area level, or lease or whatever. So it's a very flexible tool that allows you really to sort of take this set of data and slice and dice it in any way that's appropriate to help you understand where your cost drivers are and where your performance is coming from, and where to focus in terms of cost reduction programs or whatever. We can do exactly the same with our financial indicators. So we can look at any of these indicators and see which are the best performing and which are the worst performing. And again, we could break that down, and let's just go and look at a particular area of wells or something like that and see how they're comparing. And again, picking any of the other parameters that we might have. So how much are we spending on surface maintenance? How do they compare, and so on. So there's also the ability to just look at how all of these different indicators compare over time by area, or again, we can do that maybe by region perhaps, see how they are comparing. And again, at whatever level do you want to look at them, at quarterly, monthly, the same flexibility here in terms of how you slice and dice your data. So, finally, there's the ability to literally pick and compare any particular individual rows that you might want from this data. So you might want to be comparing, I don't know, total BOEs with plan, seeing how they're comparing, or operating controllable expenses and so forth. So we're using one set of data, but providing from that a variety of different ways of visualizing that data to help you drill down through the data to identify outliers and examples of good and bad performance, so that you can investigate and drill into them in more detail and decide how best to manage your business. So finally, just to talk through what is sort of lying behind this. So there's typically about 4 sets of data maybe that we're using. So we need to be able to pull in data about your wells, and something that identifies either unique wells or cost centers, and the other information that you want to help to be able to filter or group them. So things like their field, which area, region, the operator, things of that nature. We pull in also some details of your LOE line items, so all the individual identifiers and descriptors that go with them, so that we can put those descriptors into the finance account views, if you like, so that you can see in more detail and select any line items for further analysis. Then we pull in the transaction data, individual transactions, again with some form of well or cost center identifier, the appropriate loss line identifier, the amounts, and then maybe some other options such as accrual dates or flags and things like that. Typically, we'll also pull in budget data, but we don't have to. This will work quite happily without budget data, so that we've got this ability to compare actual performance with budgets and calculate variances. And then in this particular example as well, we're pulling in NYMEX prices so that we're able to compare the prices that you're retrieving with what the market prices were and things like that. So that was a fairly quick overview. I think the key messages are that this provides not only a sort of accountant's view, if you like, being able to see the numbers and understand what the performance of the business is looking like and what the cash flows and so forth are looking like, but also the ability to drill down into this and compare visually performance of individual wells or groups of wells and look at performance over time to help make those decisions to drive your business forward. So I think at that point, I would suggest that anybody that's interested, we can have a more detailed run through this on a one-by-one basis, if appropriate. Quite happy to do that, and to discuss how actually loading your data into this the process we need to go through to do that. But what I'd like to do now is hand over to the Fairway guys to talk about their experience of this.
Hello, everyone. This is Kaylee Rickett. For Fairway, the primary goal of this project was to create a tool that our engineers could use to analyze LOE data to make better operating decisions. Prior to the creation of this tool, we were limited to spreadsheet exports from our accounting system, which was slow, cumbersome, and generally inefficient. We were able to view the raw data, however, plots and graphs had to be built manually, which was very time-consuming. We had previously been using Spotfire to analyze production data through a connection to our reserves database and thought it would be great to connect Spotfire to our accounting system as well to help us analyze LOE data. We are a small company with around 1,600 producing wells, so it made sense to build an LOS tool in Spotfire to help us analyze and track our LOE, as well as compare it against our budget. It was also important to us to have a consistent workflow, eliminate the need for redundant spreadsheets, and manually regenerating graphs each quarter. Blue River Analytics already had an LOS template that we thought would be a good starting point for this project. Also, we were able to work with Steve Piper, their Spotfire advisor, to customize and expand on to their template to fit our needs. Steve was able to help us bring our ideas for visualizations to fruition and provided his own thoughts and ideas for visualizations based on his experiences with other operators. And now Mark Cooper is going to share his thoughts.
Thank you, Kaylee. This tool has been deployed to our team since July, so we've had it for a few months, and it's already proven to be very beneficial. Having the ability to start with a company total LOS and drill down to different groups of wells or individual wells has been a tremendous improvement over our previous tools. Also, being able to toggle between a gross and a net LOS in the blink of an eye has been very useful. Another feature that we've enjoyed is the ability to view actual invoice images by clicking on invoice hyperlinks within the tool. We're hoping that this tool we will continue to streamline our workflows of our engineers and techs and ultimately lead to better decisions that result in reduced operating costs. And at this time, I'm going to hand it back over to John for some closing remarks.
Okay, thank you, guys. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. As you can see from the demo, Blue River is pushing the envelope in oil and gas analytics to cover your company's financial LOS. But like I mentioned before, we didn't get here by ourselves. We got here because of you. We are interested in and excited to address any issues your team has. So if there's anything we haven't addressed that you're interested in seeing, anything at all, please reach out to me after the demo. Our contact info is up on the screen here, so there's many ways to contact the Blue River team. On behalf of all of us here at Blue River and Fairway Resources, I want to thank our remarkable Blue River team, all of our clients for making this product what it is today, and for everyone on the call. We are excited to get this template into your hands and see what it can do for your business. This concludes our presentation for today. I wish you all a very blessed day.